Shalom, shalom, Israel's brothers Abayala coming back at you with another cold cut. I like to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Double honors to the men out there on the highways and byways that's pushing his truth and honesty and sincerity every weekend, and week out, or going overtime camps, trying to seal the 144 and the elect and get the hell up out of here. Right? Shalom, shalom to the sisters. The mighty Akwath, right, reverencing their husbands, guiding their households, holding down their households, and raising up their children in the law, statute, commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And double honors to the children abstaining from all the peer pressure, the wickedness in this world, right, abiding in their parents' household, keeping the commandments to the best of their ability. Shalom, shalom. It's going to be a quick cold cut on how to raise a child and what does it mean to raise a man child or a woman child, not a baby, man. You're not raising a baby. You're raising a man child or a woman child. That's what the Lord calls it, man. All right, let me get that in the book of Deuteronomy. All right. Real quick. Go to the book of Deuteronomy. Shalaki, Leviticus. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 12. Verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a woman have conceived seed and born a man child. Did the Lord say born a baby? Born a little one? The Lord said a man child, because you're raising that man. Right? It may be a child now, but it's a man child, man. Right? Then shall she be clean 7 days, according to the days of the separation for her forming shall she be unclean, right? Going into the time of her purification, if she has a child. Right? Verse 5, I'm gonna jump down to verse 5. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. So that's a maid child, a woman child, man. Right? So we have to get into the mindset when we're raising a child, we're raising them to be a man or be a woman. And what does it mean? What does it come with that? All right, let me go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4. All right, it's gonna be a quick cold cut, man. But we got to go into what does it mean to do that, man. Right? According to the precepts. Right? It's Deuteronomy chapter 6. And ultimately, you need experience as well. Or, some brothers, some sisters are still gaining experience with their first child. I got my first child, 5 months old, man. I'm trying to gain experience as well. But I'm going to do it, what I know based off the precepts. And then, of course, relay that knowledge to others as well. This is Deuteronomy 6 and 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently. I start at verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day, that Shalaki shall be in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. So these commandments, we got to teach diligently to our children. When it says diligently, it means you got to be focused. You got to know what you're teaching them, man. You got to have a curriculum set up. You got to let them know what's going on in these scriptures, man, at a high level, right? And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, man. Meaning all the time, you got to be teaching these commandments. Whenever you lay down, all right, yeah, so what's the 10 commandments? All right, repeat it back to me. All right, cool. What is this law going into on uncleanness? All right, cool. How do you give alms? How do you pray? You always got to talk about these things, man. And you got to ingrain it in their mind. And it says, verse 8, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. I mean, it's always going to be in your mind, man. And you got to instill that into your child as well. They have to walk around thinking about these commandments in fear of the Lord. All right, and it says, and thou shalt write them on the posts of thy house and on thy gates. Meaning, your house has to represent Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. The children that's in your house have to represent Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You got to learn. You got to rule your own house well, having your children in subjection. All right, let's go to First Timothy chapter 3. That's what it says. It's the book of First Timothy chapter 3. And verse 4. Going into a bishop, right, and a deacon. It says, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of Yahweh? And if you're taking care of the church of the Most High, you have souls in your hand. You're letting them know about the commandments. You're going over different laws and breakdowns. But you can't, if you can't do that with a church, you can't do that with a camp, you can't do that with an organization. It starts with the house first. If you're not doing that with your house, man, then what are you doing? All right, you got to have your children. Your children got to know what's going on in the Lord. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6 and 20. All right, I'm jump down to verse 20. Right, and it says, and you got to teach the history too. You got to teach the history of what's going on, why we keep certain feast days, what each feast day is going into. Now I'm just going to show you that as well. Just Deuteronomy 6:20. And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what meaneth the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded you? So what does these things mean? Why are we keeping these commandments? Why are we keeping Passover? What is the Feast of Dedication about? They're going to know. They want to know. They're children, man. They want to learn these different things and these concepts on what they're doing. All right. And it says, then thou shalt say unto this thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Lord shewed signs and wonders great and sore upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he swore unto our fathers. So you got to teach the history. You got to teach what happened to Pharaoh about him getting killed. You got to teach your child that hey, the Lord killed Pharaoh and the damn Egyptians that enslaved our people, and he brought us out with a mighty hand. You have to let your children know that, man. They're going to say, oh, so that's why we keep Passover. To hell with the Egyptians. That's what they're going to say, man. And we got to know how to teach this history. You got to know the history to teach the history. If you're not building yourself up to teach your child, you're going off, because they're going to learn wickedness, man. They're going to learn the things of the world. But you have to keep them gravity, but you have to first learn yourself. And it says, and the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes to fear the Lord our God, and for our God always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he commanded us. So you got to teach them the why. Why am I keeping these commandments? What is the history going into? You have to learn how to raise your child and teach them these different concepts, man. Right? Let's go to Judges chapter 3 and verse 2. Ultimately, hey, you got to teach them war, man. You have to teach them concepts of war. And a lot of people think just war. Well, actually, let's just bring out the precept. It's Judges 3 and 2. Let's start verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel has not known all the wars of Canaan. So this is a new generation coming in. They don't know all the wars of Canaan. They weren't there in Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy. This is a new generation being led by Joshua and Caleb, man. Ultimately Joshua. So what the Lord say? That they didn't know all the wars of Canaan. They didn't even know how that land was inhabited. They didn't even know how they got that land. Verse 2. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof. The Lord said, you got to teach these children war. You got to teach them war. War comes with knowing who your enemy is. War comes with and war is just not guns, bloodshed, and swords and fighting, man. That's not all war is. War is strategic. War is strategy. War is mind. If you're teaching your child war, you're teaching them how to be vigilant. You're teaching them how to keep their head on a swivel. You're teaching them to know who their enemy is. You're teaching them to be subtle, when a time and place in judgment. You're teaching them these different concepts of war. You're teaching them order, government, obedience. That's war, man. When you're going into an army's not just sent out to kill. You have spies. You have recon missions. You have camouflage. You know how to blend in society. You got to know Matthew 10 and 16, harmless as a dove, right? Wise as a serpent. That's war. Because if you know you're in war and you know you're in the midst of your enemies, you're not just going to go up and try to fight all your enemies. That's not wise. That's not smart. That's not a war-like move. You got to teach your child war. You got to teach them to have the mindset of a warrior, man. That's what it means to teach war. If you're not teaching your child how to have a mind, especially as a female, especially in this wicked society, sexualization of our females, the hatred of our young sons, man, because of the pigment of their skin, because they're Israelites, you got to teach them how to move in the society according to the precepts, ultimately teaching them war, right? And it says, right? God, that's it on that. All right, let's go to the book of 1 Chronicles 7 and 4. So we always taught our children war, man. You got to teach your child war. You don't think David knew war? Right? David, slaying a lion, man, at a young age. Right? It's the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 7. And I'll start at verse 2. And the sons of Tola, Uzi and Raphiah and Jezreel, and Jamai and Ipsium and Shemiel, heads of their father's house, to wit of Tola, there were valiant men of might in their generations, whose number was in the days of David 220,600. And the sons of Uzai, these are his sons now. Let's read about their sons. Israhiah, and the sons of Israhiah, Michael and Obadiah and Joel and Ishiah, 5, and all of them chief men. So these were the sons of this man Uzziah, and they were all chief men. Let's read on. And with them by their generations, after the house of their fathers were bands of soldiers for war. This man's sons were soldiers for war. Bands of them, man. He had armies of his sons ready for war. You don't think they knew war concepts? You don't think they knew war? How did they know war? Did they just grow up in this knowing war? Ultimately, yeah, in their environment, but their father Uzziah taught them war like concepts, man. He taught them about who their enemy is, how to build in obedience, how to not step on each other's foot, how to know. You got to know how to play your role. You got to teach your son and daughter how to play their role. All right, what it means to play their role, why they have to do that as well, the history behind it, man. Right, and it says 630,000 men, for they had many wives and sons. All right, so they taught the Israelites, of course, the tribe of Issachar. Uzziah taught his sons war, right? What it means to be a warrior. Let's go to Proverbs 22:6. So when we're talking about raising up a child, you got to raise them up in the way they're going to go. It's Proverbs chapter 22:6. Train up a child in the way he shall go, meaning you have to direct his steps. You got to prepare him on a way that he's going to go. Prepare his way. Show them the direction on where he should go, man, because you're not going to be able to ultimately lead them when they're older in age, man. Right? You have to just show them the way by setting a good example and going into the precepts. Right? And it says, train up a child in the way he shall go, and when he is old, he shall not depart from it. So when he's old, you instill in those concepts of morality, right? Structure, order, right? Into their mind when they're a child. When they're growing up, it's going to always be in the back of their mind. They're not going to leave those concepts. My dad always told me. My mom told me so. I ain't going to be wise. Let me not even do that, man, because I remember when my mom told me. I remember when my dad told me. Because guess what? It's going to be in their mind. Ultimately, they said in the scriptures, Sirach chapter 9 and verse 2, I ain't going to give my inheritance to a harlot, so nah, shorty, you can keep it moving. That's how they're going to think, man. Well, my mom told me that I got to get a godly man. He got to be my head. And once I'm with him forever. So I don't think I should lay down with this man. That's if you train up a child in the way they go when they're older, they're not going to depart from it, man. Right? We have to instill concepts, in your children from when they're young. When they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they're watching you, man. You're an example to them. They're going to be watching you and seeing how you move, and that's the way that they're going to move, man. Mommy and daddy did this, so when I grow up, that's going to affect them, man. They're going to start doing certain things as well. Right? I'm going to go to Proverbs 19:18. It's the book of Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 18. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. Yeah, your child needs to get his ass whipped, man. Folly is bound in the heart of a child. It's going to tell you that too. Right? In Proverbs chapter 2 and let me go to Proverbs 22 and 15. Let me jump to 15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. I mean, your child is going to do stupid things. Right? Your child's going to write marker all over the wall, man. Your child's going to spill all the sugar on the floor and look at you, man, because they're trying to make a damn sugar sandwich. They're going to do these different things, man. It's bound in the heart of a child. But the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Meaning the Lord said you got to whoop him. You got to do what you got to do with him, man. Coming from a Benjamin household, that's what they knew. And that's what you got. You messed up, you going to get it, man. And they going to make sure you going to get it, man. Especially with a Benjamin father, you going to get it, man. Right? Because, hey, the rod of correction, and I all pray the water, Yahweh Bashem Yahshua, they put it in my father and my mother to chastise me like that. See, these Edomites, they put their children on timeout. They take away their games. And they give it right back 2 minutes later. And you think that child learns something from standing in the corner, looking at the wall, repeating things over and over again? No. You got the rod of correction, man. Right? You got to spank that child, man. You got to make sure they understand this is the consequences of what's going to happen, man. I was afraid to mess up in school. Now, foolishness was bound in my heart. Ultimately, I kind of went off sometimes. But when I got home, I knew what it was. You taking them slow walks home, right? You telling your friends, hey, y'all trying to go to the store? Y'all trying to do this? You trying to see the whole world before you get home. As soon as you get home, you all of a sudden tired. Oh, man, you try to go to sleep. And your mom come, your dad come, get up. And you knew what that meant. Get up now. You go, what's going on? You act like you don't, what's going on? Oh, hey, Dad, how you doing? No, don't play that. Your teacher called me, right? All right. Strip to your underwear. Strip. And guess what? You're getting the rod of correction. Yeah, your food on the stove. Stop crying before I give you some more to cry about. You eat the food, man. But hey, guess what? That next day, you ain't act up in class, man. You wasn't talking to your friends, man. All right? Hey, you trying to... No. Can I move to the other side of the class, please? Right? Hey, that's what you got to do. But the Lord said, let me go back to Proverbs chapter 19 to 18. Chasten thy son where there is hope. Because when he gets to a certain age, you're not going to be able to chasten your son no more, man. Whatever you instilled in him when he was a child, if he never beat him and he was entitled, then you lost hope. When he's younger in age, when you still can mold him up to what you want him to be as a man or a woman in the Lord, man, you got to do that where there's hope. There's a timeline where you can be able to, punish your son like that, man, or daughter. But what does it say? And let not thy soul spare for his crying. He's gonna be crying. And there's some times I was crying my ass off all night. The whooping was 2.5 hours ago and I'm still crying. Sobbing, man. Eating the food dropping down my mouth. Shut up. What you crying for? All right? You do your homework? Yeah. All right. Shut up. I don't want to hear. I'm about to go to sleep. I don't want to hear no more crying. If you hear if I cry, I'm coming back and I'm whooping your ass again. That's the lifestyle, man. And guess what? You holding that crying. You going to sleep crying. You can't let your soul spare for you. As a mother, okay, some fathers too, but especially as a mother, oh, my baby. Oh, I can't hear him cry. Oh, I don't like to hear that. Oh, can you not hurt him too much? Can you not, come on, I know you're going to be crying. You can't have that spirit when you chastening your son, man, or your daughter. They got to know, man. They got to know judgment. Ultimately, if they don't receive that right now and then, right then and there, in the world, they're going to get judged much worse. It may lead to death. The Lord may kill them, man, and there is no getting that back. And you may wish that you chastened them when they was little. You may wish that you had them opportunities, man. But in the world, Jake, they not gonna have no mercy on your child, man. Eve, right, in the world, they're not gonna have mercy on your child. The wicked, these other nations, they ain't gonna have mercy on your child, man. So essentially, you gotta instill them concepts into them when they're young. Let's go to Sirach chapter 30 and verse 1. It's a spirit. This Sirach 30 and 1. He that loveth his son causeth them oft to feel the rod. So if you love your son, you gonna feel that they gonna feel that. You always gonna be correcting them, man. Right? That he may have joy of him in the end. Because at the end of the day, when they grow up, like I'm proud of my father that he was able to do that for me, man. Because now, going down the wrong path, my father chastening you, especially when you older, instilling different concepts in you. Now you're gonna look back and be like, damn, I needed that. You feel me? And now your father's gonna have joy in you in the end. Verse 2, he that chasteneth his son shall have joy in him and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. Your father, your father's friends come around, that's your son. Yeah, that's my son right there. He kind of nod his head like this and looking at you. And they talking about you and they looking at you. Right? And because he proud of you, man. He proud of the man or woman that you became. But that all started when you raising up a child, man, in a way that he shall go. Right? And it says, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. And before his friends, he shall rejoice of him. Yeah, you think Esau like that? You think Esau likes when Jake is with his child in the household? They spend millions of dollars trying to get you out the household, man. Now that you're in the household, what you gonna do? You still gonna raise up your child to be a nigga? Yeah, Israelite with fringes, but he don't know no history. He don't know what's going on because you ain't teach him. You don't even know what's going on. You barely read. You probably read one chapter a day. They see that, so they read one chapter every 3 days because they don't think it's important because you don't think it's important. But if you really teaching your child the commandments, the history, you causing him off to feel the rod, you teaching him warlike concepts, who his enemy is, you're grieving the enemy, man. You're bringing down, there's an ancient proverb, man. You destroy a nation by, it starts in the household. If you destroy that household, you're going to destroy the nation because now they're teaching the household different things. Now the household is going to slowly divide up, right? Now that child is going to grow up to destroy his household, and that's how you destroy a nation of people. But if you raising up a household, next thing you know, his household raise up household. Now you're building a nation of people. All right. And it says, for he have left one behind that is like himself. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. Meaning you're not going to be sorrowful. When Tobit died and left his son Tobias, man, you think he was sorrowful? Nah, because he knew he raised a man, man. A righteous man in the Most High. Right. And it says Verse 6, he left him an avenger against his enemies and one that shall require quietness to his friends. What's a perfect example of that? Right? Matthias, right, left Judas and his 5 brothers, man. He left an avenger like unto himself. He was going hard against the heathen, man. They fled into the wilderness. Read the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees. 1st Maccabees, the 1st and 2nd chapter, chiefly. Fighting against the heathen. Right? And then he left Judas, the hammer. And guess what? He left off, he took on where his father left off, giving them heathens hell. Right? Hey, when Simon, right, the last brother to die, guess what? His son took up the John, man, took up the burden in leading his nation. So that's what we gotta. That's what you gotta teach your son to. Hey, when I die, it's not like I never left, man, because my son gonna take up the burden that I was given, man, and he gonna go as hard. He gonna be better than me, man. As Judas was better than his father when he was fighting out the damn heathen, right? And it says, verse 7, he that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels shall be troubled at every cry. You hold your son on the pedestal, and every time your son fall, hurt himself. Hold on. You coddling him, man. Tell my rib, hey, let him cry, man. He gotta cry. I know he gotta cry, man. Yes, he needs nurturing, but in catering. But they know what they're doing, man. They crying just so they can be held, and they stop crying. They don't even be crying. Sometimes tears don't even come out their eyes. Look at your baby when he crying. Is there tears coming out his eyes? All right, cool. You know. But if there ain't no tears coming, he just wants to be held. He just wants to be held, which is not a problem. But when they growing up, now they 5 years old and they not even crying. They just whining. It turns into whining. And they look at you. Okay. And they get what they want. No, you can't make too much of your son and bind up his wounds, man. You can't do that. Right? I just want to tell you that. A horse not broken become headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. I mean, they're gonna start doing what the hell they want to do. If they don't have any guidance or instruction, they're gonna find something to do. And usually nine times out of 10 is gonna be wickedness. You're not gonna, your child 6 years old, you leave him to himself, you come back, he's not gonna be going over a breakdown. Now you have those 1% that will, if you're really diligent, but 9 times out of 10 they're gonna be trying to do something they're not supposed to. When I was 6 years old, I was trying to light paper on fire, man, in the house. Lit the rug on fire. True story. I was 6 years old. My mom went out somewhere, right? Probably to the store or something, because we lived on top of a store in the apartment. Probably came back and I lit the rug on fire, man. That was the ultimate ass whooping I got. And I remember it to this day, right? Dad came home and it was a wrap. Lit the rug on fire because I was by myself, man. I was 7 years old trying to smoke a damn cigarette. Trying to what's this? My damn grandpa had a damn stack of cigarettes. I always see him smoke. I'm like, let me try to smoke it. And my mom, all I felt was this. Get over here. And I felt that. Because I was just trying to do stuff, man. When you 7 years, you're just trying to do stuff. You're trying to figure stuff out. Trying to smoke paper. Trying to just do dumb stuff. I'm just outside, right? Throwing rocks at cars. Right? If you leave a child to himself, he's going to become willful, man. Right? And it says, conquer thy child. Meaning, if you pamper your child, if you spoil your child, what? And he shall make thee afraid. Meaning, when they grow up, they have everything given to them. They don't know how to work hard. So now they're going to fail. And every time they're doing something, he's going to make you afraid because they're not used to working. They're not used to grinding out there, man. And it says, play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the enemy. Damn. Right? Some Eve, I got to give her my mom like my sister. Why? Why is your mom like your sister? You only 13 years old, 14 years old, and you kicking in with your mom like y'all's best friends. That's your mother, man. Now when y'all get into it, now she talking to you like she your sister. B, I don't have to do any of that. Man, that's what you saying. I'm going to my room. She locking doors now. It's my house. Open up the door. No. Because you laughing with her, you drinking when you smoking when you're not supposed to be doing these different things, man. You supposed to be a mother and a father, man. A guidance, not your friend. I ain't your friends, man. I used to get home, I ain't your friend. It's not that. Nah, what? Get over here. And hey, real quick. Oh, that's my father, right? Let me show him some respect. Let me reverence him real quick. Yes, Dad. Right? Yes, Pops. Whatever you say. That child gotta have that respect for you. What else? And it says, give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. Right? Your child all out at 10 o'clock at night. What the JCs used to say, hey, get on before the street lights, man. After school, you coming home. Can I go over what's his name house? Let me call his mother and let's see what's going on. But you're not over there every weekend. Now, I tried to spend the night at my cousin's house when I was little, and I'll be over there from Friday to Saturday. But I was trying to go over there Saturday. Can I get that Saturday, Sunday too, Mom? Can I stay another night? No, come home. You got a bed at home. Well, why can I? No, you got a bed at home. Come home. Come home right now, man. Man, not playing with your son. And that's how it was. You're not over there all the time. Hey, you at home where I know you at, where you know you're safe. Right? You don't want to, you're giving your child too much liberty. They going out, all out all week. You ever seen your child in 3 days and they 14? And you come home and tell, hey, mom, hey, what's going on, man? It's off, man. Right? And it says, bow down his neck while he is young and beat him on the sides when he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thy heart. I mean, the Lord said, whoop his A, man. You got to whoop him, man. You gotta kind of put your foot down when you're dealing with a child, man. Right? Because ultimately, you're going to teach them the commandments. You're going to teach them how to be a man. What does it mean to be a man? Let's go to 1 Kings 2:2. It is the biblical definition of what it means to be a man. Now in the days of David drew nigh that he shall die, and charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. So this is what King David told King Solomon, the most wisest man to ever live. What's the advice that he told King Solomon on how to be a man? Verse 3, and keep the charge of the Lord your God, and to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies as written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. So ultimately, if you teach your child the commandments and judgments and statutes, they're going to be protected all the day long. So you're not even going to have to worry about them when they're leaving, because they're going to make sound decisions. They're going to be making wise decisions, and the Lord's going to lead them in certain directions. You know that, man. That's what it means, and they're going to prosper in whatever they do. They're going to prosper in whatever business they decide to have. They're going to prosper in whatever maneuver they go in this life, and whatever the Most High has plans for them, man. All right? Ultimately, teaching them these concepts, that's what it means. And you had kings that were literally 7, 12, 14 years old. Because that's what it means. The Lord said, be a man child, or maid, or woman child. You're not a baby, man. Imagine, let me go to the book, 2 Kings 22:1. Because being a man is your mindset. It's not about how old you are. I know a lot of 44-year-old children. I hire them. I know a lot of 20-year-old men. I hire them. I know a lot of damn 35-year-olds that still act like they 13, man. It's wild. Right? But I know a lot of 15-year-olds that got that move in a mindset as they 40, man. So it's not really how old you are. It's about how mature your mindset is. It's 2 Kings chapter 22:1. Right? It's 2 Kings 22:1. And it says, Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother name was Jedidah, and the daughter of Adiah of Escoth. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the ways of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left hand. In modern day age, Josiah would be in 2nd grade. Imagine going to a school and the 2nd grader is about to rule a whole nation. Imagine your son may be 7 years old, and next year they're about to rule the whole your whole nation of people, and you don't have any say over him. He's ordained, right? You telling your 8-year-old to clean the room, and he's ruling. He's a king, a literal king. He has a crown on his head, meaning he has to make judgment decisions, meaning he has to put people to death at 8 years old, right? And he has to keep the judgments, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, meaning Josiah had people killed, man, for going off. Oh, you committed adultery? All right, cool. Well, you got to stone this person. You looking up to his advisors, right? His feet still dangling in the damn throne. And guess what? He got to make judgment decisions at that age, man. It's possible. Let's go to 2 Kings 21:1. Let's read about his father. His father reigned when he was 12. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hezekiah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, in the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Hold on, this man is 12 years old. How do you do evil? He surely couldn't have did evil. The Lord didn't call him evil. He was only 12. Hey, we can go to Proverbs 20:11. A child is known by their doings, man. It doesn't matter how old you are. The Lord gonna judge you, man. There's no respect to persons. Right? That's Colossians 3:25, Romans 2:11. There ain't no respect to persons with the Lord. There's Proverbs 20 and verse 11. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. So even a child is known by his doings. Even a child is known if they're going to keep the commandments or not. The man, Josiah was 8 years old and he did right. Manasseh was 12 years old and he did wrong. The Lord don't, and ultimately the Lord, throughout his life, put Manasseh in the lowest state. Just read the prayer of Manasseh. But Josiah was exalted, man. All right? Josiah was exalted. One of the righteous kings, man. Right? So it's not about how old you are. It's not about how young you are. It's about your mindset. Are you raising this child in the eyes of the Lord, keeping the commandments, disciplining them the way they should be so they can grow up to be righteous, man? Are you doing those different things? Because if not, then you got a problem because they're going to wax stubborn, man. Right? But I'd like to give our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Right, Lord willing, you was edified on these concepts, going into the scriptures on how to raise a child. And I'd like to bid a mighty strong shalom.